I'm very delighted to be with all of you here to present our paper. So this is a shared work with my colleague. Yeah, he's, he's for sure. This is a shared work with my colleague, but due to international turmoil, she couldn't come to New York. So, okay. So this is an ongoing research on international migration from sub-Saharan countries to the US and UK. We are studying the global pool of African human capital and its consequences from three perspectives. Brain drain from the perspective of sending countries, brain waste from the perspective of destination countries, and mismatched expectations among highly skilled migrants. So last year at this same conference, we presented our research from the perspective of the source countries, focusing on the departure of healthcare African workers and its correlation with demographic changes in the US and UK, and the shortage of medical professionals. The perspective highlights the burden carried by source countries. And this year, we are focusing on brain waste from the perspective of destination countries. This research sheds light on the challenges faced by highly skilled migrants in pursuing fulfilling careers or finding jobs that match their skills. So what are the research gaps that motivate us to do the research? So there is a growing interest in the causes of migration, such as to find better opportunities, better working conditions, and all the consequences of brain drain. However, a few studies have addressed the issue of migration from the migrant's perspective, examining the combination of brain drain and brain waste, or the role of migration policies in the mobility of skilled African professionals. Moreover, much of the existing literature fails to address the mismatched expectations of African migrants who are, despite their advanced education skills, often find themselves in roles abroad that do not fully match their qualifications. So, what are our research questions? So, in which ways do the qualifications and expectations of African professionals align or misalign with the reality of their new jobs in the US and UK? And since migration is challenging for everyone, how can the resulting burdens be distributed fairly among all stakeholders? So, okay, so how do you try to answer those research questions? So our study adopts a mixed methods approach, combining quantitative data of skilled African migrants with a qualitative survey of African professionals. The quantitative component is based on data on employment outcomes, wage disparities, and migration patterns. And we use data from the US Census Bureau and the UK Office for National Statistics. And then we are also conducting qualitative interviews to explore personal migration stories to determine expectations versus realities. And data analysis is being conducted to identify the key drivers of migration and its outcomes. our conceptual background is grounded in 4 cornerstones. So the first one is theories of brain drain and global migration. The second one, the so-called brain waste and the costs of underemployment. And then the third cornerstone for host countries, solutions to adapting job markets to high-skilled migrants and benefiting from the so-called brain gain. And for those countries, solutions to developing retention and integration policies and benefiting also from brain gain. So there is a global network of workers, and we've got some structural problems. Brain waste then for destination countries, and brain drain for receiving for departure countries. And for the brain waste, there is underemployment. There are foreign revenues and foreign taxes then. And for the source countries, there is the cost of losing high-skilled workers, and of course the cost for public finances. And the possible structural solutions maybe adapt the labor market to the highly skilled migrants, or when it comes to the source countries, remittances are usually shown as the solutions, but the cost of losing high-skilled workers outweigh the benefits for remittances. So should also source countries restrict immigration, or should migrants return to their countries? So how do highly skilled foreign-born workers fare in the US labor market, for example? So here, the educational attainment, we find that African immigrants are among the best educated US immigrants. By contrast, the UK is a destination for a greater proportion of low-skilled African migrants. According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, 37 of US born have a bachelor's degree, and the figure is higher compared, for example, to 68% of Nigerians, 58% of South Africans, 52% of Kenyans, and 47% of Ghanaians. And immigrants with a master's degree or a PhD are more likely to be unemployed. So it is important to distinguish between H-1B visa programs, for example, and asylum seekers, so refugees. For instance, Somalis have less human capital than US-born workers, 18% compared to 37%. And the importance also of English. Most of African immigrants are from English-speaking countries. Engineering and STEM subjects are rewarded. Conversely, degrees in business or education and the humanities are generally not so highly rewarded. Okay. Thank you. It's no. No. Okay. So what are the costs of the waste of human capital? Changes in the global economy and in the creation and use of scientific and technical knowledge have made foreign-born talent a key economic factor in most world economies. In developed countries where highly skilled migrants are often valued as a strategic part of national economic competitiveness, but there is also a deal of anxiety about good jobs not going to natives. So what are the costs of low-skilled employment among highly skilled immigrants? It carries substantial economic costs, foregone wages, foregone taxes, and a lack of financial stability among those immigrants. So, what should be done then? So maybe for receiving countries, so adapt the labor markets to highly skilled migrants, because immigrants workforce become ever more educated. You can also think of migration policies for those countries. And now the ability of people to work with each other across borders via internet and other means makes physical movement of people less necessary. Instead, it seems likely that the flow of highly skilled labor and international collaboration reinforce each other. So, to draw this to a close, the practical implications of our study, it shows the magnitude of brain drain waste among African migrants. It underscores the controversial aspects of highly skilled migrants and the existence of a global network of workers. It is an attempt to assess the impact of migration and to find some solutions to such pervasive issues and identify policy options that address the problem. And our research limitations and maybe future directions, as we we focus only on 6 countries in sub-Saharan Africa, we should carry out our study on a larger scale. And we also focus on high-skilled migrants because they are most needed for Africa's development. But how about the migration of low-skilled? And also, what are the impacts of this migration for those who remain, and the labor market tensions locally also would be interesting. So thank you so much for your attention.